When I left my job as a professional chef back home in Denmark, I needed to get out and breathe fresh air. There was only one way, and that was to have a kitchen outside. And I got this here, finally. Clean air, clean vegetables, fresh meat, and fresh fish. And new friendships and communities. Stories and adventures that I'll never forget. And that I will always be grateful for. This is the truth in food. When I left Denmark and landed in Seattle, Washington, I did not know what I was going to do. But I knew I wanted to cook outside. And one day, I found a flyer for a hunting school. And for the last 4 years, I've been cooking here for Bruce McGlenn. And we became colleagues and great friends. It's the beginning of a new season at Hunman Nature Hunting. And we're getting ready for new groups of students who will become a part of this community. You ready?
What's my answer? Am I ready?
Fetch!
I will be by Thursday at noon.
Thursday at noon? Yeah, me too.
All right, let's go.
At the school, we have this beautiful vegetable garden. As a chef, I love this. We source as much as we can here. But the thing is, you never know what Bruce planted. There's big bunches of chives, thyme, sage, and lovage. My favorite herbs. There's beans, potatoes, tomatoes. There's no rules to cooking. We use it all, mix it up. I don't think about it. I just walk in there and pick stuff that's ready. We can't get everything from this garden here. So we also used local farmers around us. Meadowlark Farm is one of our local purveyors. They supply us with beautiful produce. The Odd Couple. The Brokeback Mountain. 2.
It's like kale palm trees.
Huh?
Kale palm trees.
Yeah. Chilies. Oh, that is the devil.
Hey, Michelle.
Nice
Good to see you. Yeah, you too. We know you guys are busy getting everything ready, so we won't take too much time, but we thought we'd just stop by and see what was available to incorporate into the next feast, this upcoming course on Thursday.
Yeah. So hard to see all this, like all these vegetables just going like into seed and then apples just lying around. I'm just thinking, oh, how can you use all this stuff, you know? All these restaurants that's like buying new stuff that's so far away, and then instead of like, okay, we're gonna close one day, we go out to a farm and then we pick all leftovers and pickle stuff and clean it up and all this. But it's lost, nobody gonna do it. Look at those colors, man. Purple, black, beautiful. On the sun side and on the... Amber is a former firefighter who now works at the farm with John and Michelle.
And so the transition's been good from firefighting to farming?
I make a lot less money, but I have a lot more time, and I have a lot more food.
Yeah.
So much food, I don't even know what to do with. And I was a vegetarian for 5 years. And then I thought, well, if I can get a sustainable source of meat, such as venison, I'm gonna try that, and I did. And I'm not a hunter myself. I did help process 2 deer, actually, this year on our kitchen table. That was interesting. There's just so much respect there, and it's medicine. It's really good for my body. I can tell when I started eating meat again, I had a lot more energy sustained throughout the day, and you just can't overconsume, and you have to really appreciate where it's coming from.
Well said.
Honey crisp. Oh my God. They're just lying all over. All this food. This is just a small organic farm. And it's just food lying all over. Honey crisp. It's the day before the first class of the year, and things are always a bit crazy for Bruce and I as we prepare.
Service berries we can use in
So what about all this? Did you take all this out?
I haven't had a chance to get to it yet. And first of all, welcome and thank you for being here. But I've been hunting my whole life, and it kept coming back to this question of how can I help heal the connection between humans and nature. I'm not here to preach hunting at all, and part of it is continuing to ask myself and others, what our role is here, and should we be eating meat? I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever know. But I think it's important to ask questions and continue the conversation. I wanted to just take a few moments to walk you through a guided imagery. Just start by noticing where your center is. Maybe even imagining more weight down in your legs, touching the deck boards and roots extending down into the earth. And then start to be aware of your immediate surrounding, of the sun hitting your skin. And on your next sort of deep breath, imagine pushing that boundary out. Your area of awareness grows a little bit. Start to notice things and listening to the wind and the aspens and the grasshoppers out in the field. Just take all that in. And it won't be possible to pick up on every little sound and movement, but just holding that space in your awareness begins to put things in perspective, and at least gives you a canvas with which to work.
After Bruce welcomes the students, he takes them on a tour in the forest to practice glassing for animals. In the meanwhile, back at the cabin, I'm starting preparing for their first dinner.
A small percentage of animals are killed from hunting, and there are all sorts of other reasons, from disease and starvation and cars and natural predation. But anytime you have an animal down, and they've got scavengers coming and pulling parts.
Somebody ate it. I have my own little garden here, and my own little herb garden. That's what I'm trying to maintain, so I don't have to buy herbs. Doesn't make sense.
Keep an eye out for any tracks we might see in the soft ground here.
So this is a plant you're not used to having over here so much. I don't see it so much. It's called lovage. It's really bitter, but it's really good with potatoes. So freshly chopped in. So you bake some potatoes, cook some potatoes, mash them up with a little butter, salt, then freshly chop this in. It's really good.
There's a chance for you to use your binoculars a little bit. There is a deer somewhere in this zone.
I cannot wait to use these herbs tonight. It's the first time they're gonna try lovage. It's going into the potato, mashed potatoes, salt, olive oil, butter. They're gonna love it.
I wish they were all this light. This is how you carry a deer out of the woods.
Some color, some taste.
The scenario here is that we shot an animal out here by the equipment, the orange equipment, and it jumped like it was hit and it ran into the brush. Mark where you were and the direction you think it's in, and then go out and try to find it. And if you can't find it, you might come back to where you were, get that bearing again, and just go in on a straight line. Because things can disappear real easily in the woods. There's a blood trail up here. Let's go up and find the beginning of it and get on it.
The sage I love because it's just all over here. So if you want to like try to incorporate some of the stuff that you think that the deer is eating, I try to incorporate that, so it's like nuts and roots and fresh herbs and shoots and all this stuff.
We would look carefully for any little sign of red in here. Now I dropped one right in here, but I can't even find it yet. See it? Yeah. Yeah, good.
Bruce has the group tracking the blood trail. They don't know exactly what they will find, but he wants them to feel like they're on a real hunt.
Well, for me, I simply just often put my hand on the animal and feel it and feel the heat. And even doing it now, it's giving me goosebumps because for me, it's kind of that final leap from observer to participant. You know, I'm now part of this ecosystem in a pretty real way.
Bruce teaches them to gut and field dress the animal.
Muscles.
I'm always after the organ meats. And before they start the butchering process, I get the heart, the liver and the kidney. And oh yeah, they're in for a surprise. Organ meats is always something that people discard. And I think that it's so bad because they're so full of nutrition. I think that people always think, oh, my mom always did like liver. She did not fry it up with onions and sage and salt and pepper and garlic and all this nice stuff. That's the thing they remember on the class the most. Apart from Bruce and I, there are volunteering instructors at the course. Carl Chamberlain is one of them. He's a forester and a forager, and he has so much knowledge about plants, roots, nuts, berries. The students are getting a real treat with him.
When our ancestors, like our deep ancestry, when we were apes, they would have been interacting with a lot of familiar species. The trees haven't changed much since that time. You would have still recognized cherries and plums and apples, birches, hazels. All those genera would have been familiar. Wild food belongs to all of us, and I think it's an important element to add to a hunting course, because hunting it reflects a way of life. It reflects an old way of life. And when we have a relationship with the land that's attuned to hunting, it's also attuned to another kind of way to get your plant food.
Todd Broadstead is a biologist and an instructor who helps the student understand the rules and regulations of hunting.
For the last 17 years, my actual working title is Private Lands Wildlife Biologist. And what that means is, in my area of responsibility, which is 4 counties, these 3 up in the northeast, Ferry, Stevens, and Pend Oreille counties, and then Lincoln County to the south, I am responsible for creating hunting access agreements and wildlife habitat development projects on private lands in those 4 counties.
Kelly White is a longtime bow and muzzleloader hunter. He has some great stories and some knowledge to share.
With a bow, they'll get away from you, they'll lay down, that heals up. I mean, especially elk, they gore the hell out of each other with their horns all rut long. One of the big bulls I killed years ago had a big old horn hole through his side, and he was a monster. I'd like to see the one that had guts enough to poke a hole in him, but somebody was out there that did.
these instructors is so important to the course, and they bring it all together.
Cheers to the 4th year.
Cheers.
So this class was different.
They're all different. That's kind of what makes them unique. I mean, every group is different. Made up of 6 individuals from all over the country and different backgrounds and different beliefs, but they all share a common set of values around wanting to connect more deeply with the environment and,
Know where the food are coming from. And
conservation, food, connection to food, and an appreciation for community too, I think.
yeah, that's a big part for them.
It's probably because they hear you're cooking. We've said it before, it's trying to create the space and invite people into a home and community of hunters. This is a lot of work, and I think the fact that we're able to pull this together and pull it off and continue to create something special for these folks, I think says a lot.
I think it's a good balance. There has to be a yin and there has to be a yang to fit together, to do something together. So,
Nothing good ever comes easy.
but when you're done, do you feel like are you fulfilled with giving away all this knowledge that you're giving away?
So yeah, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I mean, right now I could barely think straight after 4 days of just on all day. But I do think it's worth it.
I just love to see their faces when they're like, oh, are we getting all this, are we getting all this nice food and like doing this? I feel like Bruce and I go a long way back, but we only known each other for 4 years. But so many things has happened.
He's getting some long underwear for his handsy ass.
We've been on different hunts together here in Washington State. We sailed on a boat out to and hunted there, and we went back into wilderness areas and see all this beautiful country, and the friendship just evolved. It all ties back to the school, of course, but I think that a friendship has to evolve and has to build for a longer time. So, and we've been doing these schools for 4 years, and I think that is connecting us together. I learned a lot, and the whole connection with Bruce's family. I'm always welcome. I always feel like it's my mom and dad there, and my second parents are living are Bruce's parents, but it's not always about hunting. It's also it's also being out there and enjoying the nature together and get these experiences together, and that means a lot to me.